Selling prints at art shows is no easy task, especially for photographers. If you've ever tried an art show, you'll likely know that by now. My name is Austin James Jackson. I'm a landscape photographer based here in the beautiful southern Utah. I've been selling prints at art shows for a few years now. I've certainly learned a lot over the years. I've spent a substantial amount of money on both my prints and my setup. I've had a lot of failures and I've had a few successes here and there. Ultimately, if there was a few things that I could go back in time and tell myself, I could save myself thousands of dollars and lots of time and get on the fast track to selling more artwork at art shows and events. However, obviously I can't do that. So instead, I'm making this YouTube video in order to hopefully help you to do that yourself. A quick note before we start today's video. This video was sponsored by my friends at Pro Prints, and you'll notice that in this booth, I've got some beautiful canvas prints. I've been printing at Pro Prints for a while now, and they decided to sponsor this video by sending me some amazing canvas prints in my booth. I want to thank you to Pro Prints. I'll talk a little bit more about their prints and how I select prints for my booth later in this video. Now, first and foremost, if you want to make it selling prints as a photographer, especially a landscape photographer, understand that it's going to take a while to start earning positive money selling prints. I've spent probably about $1,500 on my booth itself and a few thousand more on the prints. So for me to make this back, it takes a lot of shows. I'm not going to make it real quickly. If you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme, move on, don't sell prints. With that being said, seeing your work printed large can be so rewarding. It's an amazing feeling knowing that your work is going to go on someone's walls in their home. Now, speaking of money, the markup price that you're selling your prints for is super, super important. So a lot of different schools of thought on this. So how much should you be charging? I've played with prices over the years, and ultimately, I think it depends on the market that you're selling in. So you have to think about that. First, decide if you're going to be selling limited edition or not limited edition. Unless you're already well known, I would recommend not selling limited edition. For those of you that don't know, limited edition just means that you're only going to print out so many of one particular photo. Oftentimes, photographers do runs of a single limited edition, 10, 100, even 1,000. I recommend avoiding this, especially when you're new. Now, normally for non-limited edition stuff, I price my prints at 2 to 3 times what I paid for the prints. I would not do any lower than 2 times, since you have to consider the cost of both the booth, the event, and of course your time. Also, if you mark everything up 2 times, that basically means you need to sell half of your inventory to get your money back just for the prints. Now, do understand the venue that you're selling at. Are you selling at an art show? Is it a nice golf course? Is it a farmer's market in a lower income town? Whatever it may be, you need to understand that the location is very important to pricing and what size prints you want to be printing. This leads in perfectly to my next point. Depending on the location, your prints are going to vary greatly. Don't make the mistake of just printing out your favorite photos. Location is huge, probably the biggest factor in deciding whether or not you're going to sell a print. Now, I started out years ago doing art shows in Central Oregon in the Bend area. One of my most popular photos was one of my favorite shots from this waterfall in Central Oregon. It did really well at the art shows up there. When I moved to Utah, I got this photo print for art shows, and rarely does it get any attention because no one knows where it is or what it is. Now the photo unfortunately has a permanent spot on my wall at home because it's not worth bringing it to art shows because it doesn't seem like it's going to sell. Today I'm working my booth as a vendor at a music festival in Springdale, Utah, which is just outside the beautiful Zion National Park. This is important for 2 reasons. One, it's a music festival, it's not an art show. While my booth can have similar items, I've outfitted my booth to have some of my less expensive pieces on the wall. I have a 3-panel triptych, is what they call it, at home that I opted not to bring to this show because it's over $1,500. Of course, I could be wrong, but at a music festival, you can generally expect that people aren't looking to spend over $1,000 on artwork. Now, in a couple weekends, there's an art show at a really nice part of town, and I will bring all of my most expensive prints out there. Additionally, print local work. Most people want to buy photos from places they've been or places that are local or places where the art show's at. For me, right now, that looks like photos in southern Utah. You can see that everything in my booth here is from Zion, Bryce, or Escalante, which is the area that I'm in right now. All locations are within 3 hours. So people that are local coming here will be interested in buying something taken locally at a location they know, while tourists want to buy something from the area to remember their trip or an area that they visited on their trip. Now, I'd be selling you short if I didn't mention sizes. I used to print all different sizes, but I've found that the medium-sized art generally doesn't sell very well. I usually try and stay away from those sizes in the middle, like the 20 by 30 size. Instead, I focus most of my energy on the large prints, as you can see, and a little bit on the smaller prints. You can see a few of the smaller prints around my booth. like 16 by 24s. Since they're small and cheap, you're not gonna make a ton of money selling these, but they're nice to have on the wall because some people might wanna buy something that's a little smaller and a little cheaper. But most of the money is in the large prints, which is great to have because it can help you to attract people into your booth. People can see these big prints from a long ways away, which will bring them into my booth to look at everything and see what I have to offer. For photographers specifically, please resize your photos before you print, especially if you're printing big. Cannot tell you how many people come into my booth amazed at the clarity and resolution of your photos. I promise you, I'm not special. I don't have any secrets. Most photographers just don't know how to upsize their photos, so they look awful when they're blown up. I'll link my video here where I can show you how to upsize. Please use it to make better looking big prints. Bookmark this thing, use it every time you want to go out and make a big print. Now, since we're talking about prints specifically, I did want to mention these beautiful prints from Pro Prints, which I talked about a little bit at the beginning of the video. I used to have a lot of metal prints in my booth, but I'm transitioning to selling a little bit more canvas because it's a lot cheaper, so I can charge a lot less for it, and I've been doing a lot better selling those. I've shopped around and tried a lot of different canvas places, and there really isn't anywhere that I've found that can beat the prices at Pro Prints, which is a huge plus for me. The quality is also really great. Cheaper prices allow me to lower the price on my work to sell stuff easier, or I can raise my price and keep a higher margin myself. Either way, I love the quality of the canvas prints. The pricing is honestly a huge bonus. Now, if you want to sell prints for long, you need to have high hopes but low expectations. I can't tell you how many shows I've done and sold absolutely nothing. Understand that this is all part of the game, selling these high ticket items. However, you need to be sure to have business cards with you because any show you visit can easily have people that will take a card and they'll call and place an order later on. So even if you don't sell anything when you're here, you still might get an order later on. I've had people call me almost a year after I met them at a show that are finally ready to get something or make an order. Regarding orders, always be prepared to take an order for a size you don't have. It's impossible to have all the sizes. You'll need to be flexible in order to make sales. I personally offer free shipping to encourage orders, but this is totally up to you. You can decide what you want and what works best for you. Last thing I want to note is these little cards that I use here. Now, these cards have pricing information, location, title, and everything you need to know about the print. I designed them in Adobe InDesign, but you could use Canva if you don't know how to use InDesign. Super simple and easy to design. Print them on cardstock paper with a little Velcro on the back. I like having these, especially with the locations on them. As a landscape photographer, trust me, it'll save you a ton of time from having to tell people where the location is for everything you have in your booth. It's probably the most common question I get asked. Also helps people to see the cost, so they know the price. A lot of photographers will avoid putting the price on their work, but I personally think this drives away a lot of people who don't want to ask. Hopefully this video will be helpful to you guys so that you're more successful selling artwork at art shows and other events. I know this advice would have helped me a ton, and I think that if you follow it, it will help you too. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you're a photographer, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I post weekly videos covering tips, tricks, reviews, behind the scenes videos, ultimately with the goal of helping you to become a better photographer in as little time as possible. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.